This thing on?
I invited Rosie up.
Wow. So Rosie, you in Discord you'll get a little notification saying you've been invited to speak. Look at that.
It's taking me a minute.
We did it.
Well, I'm waiting. My boss is somewhere lost in Discord, so I'm trying to help him get in here because he's great, and I would like him to speak as well. So if you could give me a minute to help him.
No problem. It's a wild place in this Discord.
He's not particularly tech savvy, so yeah, just give me 1 minute.
Papa Smurfin, how you doing today? So I'm going to post a cool link that Rosie shared with me in flight deck chat. Glad you're doing good, Papa Smurf. How do I say your name, Raim? R-A-E-M? Reem, but we've swapped the A-E. Raim? Am I close? Nice. Good to have you here. So the link I just posted, this is an interview Rosie did with another NFT collection. And I absolutely love Rosie's Hustle. Right, so like, just imagine how in over the head our heads we are with NFTs ourselves. And then just to be Rosie, navigating all the Discord wildness, navigating all the NFT wildness, working us degens to help the ocean. And so they got some really cool stuff that they've been doing to work with NFT projects. My favorite, and we'll ask them more about it, is they take all of the trash that gets cleaned up, they turn into art projects, and it turns into like an art competition. So I'm going to highlight just some snippets from this article so people can read while we wait. Wait, why am I typing when I can talk? I'm so powerful right now. This is what you feel like all the time, Rug?
Yes.
Classic. Bachmann, how we doing today? Ooh, I have a baby turtle story that actually might get me yelled at by Rosie. We were in Mexico at a resort because I like those things. And
Okay, so
Rosie, hello.
hey, wait 1 second. Need my headphones. Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, so Rod is there. He's Oceanic Society, so if we could invite him to speak as well, and then we can get started.
Rod, welcome.
Oh, Rod, there's going to be a little green thing on the top of your screen that says accept invite. There you go. Did it!
Hey, congratulations, Rod. This Discord stuff's hard.
Well, my first time. Good to meet you all.
Great to meet you. Welcome.
So, yeah, you guys know Rosie pretty well at this point?
Rosie is our homie.
And
They've been very patient with me. I've been jumping in every so often and telling them about Oceanic Society, and they've been super nice and welcoming.
well, wonderful. So this is all the folks in the audience. There's a couple dozen people here, it looks like. Bachmann, Swizzle, Ryan, Blades, Necrotic, etc.
You got it. Yep. And this will be recorded, and rest of the community will get kind of the down low from here.
Okay. Well, what can I talk at you? You have questions, or would you like me to introduce myself a little, or how does it work?
Yeah, let me give you my understanding of the purpose here. There will be 12 charities that we're considering giving money towards. And so what we want to give everybody the opportunity to do is get an understanding of who the charities are, what they do, and what that money will be going towards, so that we can make a decision as a community where to send that money. So that's the down low. And so we want to take some time. I believe we have, how much time do we have slated today, Mr. J? I think maybe as much as we want, as long as we hold people's interest, will be the case. And so I would love for you to give an intro, talk a little what you think we would like to know from starting out, and then I'll go ahead and ask you questions, and we can get questions from the community as well.
All right, fabulous. Well, let me start by telling you about myself. I am the president and CEO of Oceanic Society. I have been for about the last 10 years or so. Prior to that, I worked with other nonprofits. I'm a lifelong wildlife conservationist, natural history expert, and I've worked in every continent.
Amazing.
And all over the world. I've been to like 152 countries and territories. And have real world experience, hands-on stuff with local communities, working to conserve biodiversity or life on Earth, for the sake of that life and for the sake of us too, because without biodiversity, the rest of us can't really survive on this planet. And that's particularly the case with the ocean, and one of the reasons that I came to Oceanic Society. Oceanic Society has been around since 1969, believe it or not.
Popular number with the crypto community, Rod.
What's that?
That's a popular number with the crypto community, just so you know. You're already scoring points. It is. Bunch of weirdos.
I didn't know that.
1969? Yeah, for a particular reason, or?
We'll just say that in crypto land, a lot of things sell for the number 69 and 420.
Okay, I get that. Well, I mean, 1969 was a very special year, especially in America, but globally, that was a real awakening in terms of the environment. And Oceanic Society was founded, I think, on January 3rd of that year, and that makes us the very first nonprofit dedicated to ocean conservation in the United States. And we've miraculously stayed open and stayed active for that entire 52-year period now, almost 53.
Wow.
And the belief, the organization was started by yachtsmen in San Francisco. And these were people that spent a lot of time on the ocean. They loved the ocean. But they were also seeing some of the bad things that were happening with pollution and overfishing and whaling and things like that. And it was their belief that, well, if we could get other people out on the ocean, we could get them also to love it and to care for it. And we would create a more oceanic society, hence the name Oceanic Society.
Oh.
Actually, that's pretty much what our mission is to this day. We focus on deepening the connections between people and nature because we believe that you're only going to protect what you know and love. And so the more people that we can get out on the ocean and educate about the ocean, the healthier the ocean will ultimately be. And we have a number of programs. I'm in particular, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a biologist. I'm a sea turtle expert. I've been working on sea turtle conservation since I was a teenager, and I am to this day. But we focus on big picture issues that have to do with human behavior. Because if you really think about what's happening to the ocean, there's only two things wrong with it, and it's all the stuff that humans put in it and all the stuff that humans take out of it. So the solutions have got to be focused on changing human behaviors. And that's what we try to do, starting with travel and engaging people firsthand with the issues and with the problems. And then we have a program called Blue Habits that helps put people on a path to improving their behavior as it relates to maintaining healthy oceans for the world. And that's everything from plastic behaviors, the footprint that we leave with our carbon, the choices that we make every day related to seafood and food in general, the choices that we make with regard to tourism. So these are the areas that we're working in a big picture. And then in terms of the species work, which I know a lot of you guys are interested in, we run the only global scale program for sea turtle priority setting and conservation. What that means is when you're looking at animals like sea turtles, which are globally ranging, you have to understand what's happening in the big picture. So about 15 years ago, we started gathering data from and putting together a community of people worldwide that are doing sea turtle research and conservation in more than 100 different countries, multiple languages. And on an annual basis, we get them to contribute their data to a big database that lives at Duke University. And it allows us to make maps and set priorities and guide the whole conservation community with regard to where we need to focus our effort in order to have the biggest impact on sea turtle conservation. So that's kind of sort of just a quick picture. I'm happy to take specific questions that you guys might have.
That's a great intro, Rod. Appreciate that. Wow, you guys have been around a long time. I think that's
actually, without having to tell you how old I am, I was actually I grew up in Davenport, Iowa, which is nowhere near an ocean. But I was a member of the Oceanic Society back when I was in junior high school. And they published a magazine back then called Oceans. And every 3 months, a new issue of the magazine would come out. And I'd walk down my long driveway and wait at my mailbox to get this magazine. And then I would read it from cover to cover multiple times. And that was my first introduction to ocean science, and probably the reason that I'm still working on ocean science today. So for me, it's a full circle coming back to the Oceanic Society that helped me become more ocean oriented when I was a kid.
Amazing. So it's come full circle.
Mm.
Well, Rod, one immediate question I'd like to ask is, what is something that you and the society that have done while you've been there that you're most proud of? Can you give us an example of some of the impact you've had that brings you the most pride?
Well, I mentioned both the sea turtle work and this program called Blue Habits. And I think that above all, the Blue Habits program is something that is unique and special to us. A lot of people, a lot of other institutions understand the importance of changing human behaviors as they relate to healthy oceans. But there are very few organizations, if any, that are actually focusing on the social science of that. And by social science of that, I mean it's not just as easy as me telling you you need to change your behavior with relation to the ocean. I need to both tell you what behaviors you can change and then help you understand how to change them and introduce you to a community of other people that are doing the same thing so that you have the sort of incentive, the peer-based incentive to do it. Behavior change is almost the most difficult thing that you can imagine. So we've been working with experts in the field from Stanford University and other academic institutions, and basically sitting down with them and saying, hey guys, here's what we want to do. How do we do it? And then experimenting with our own audiences. We do whale watching in the San Francisco Bay Area, for instance, and in a good year, we may have as many as 3,000 passengers go out with us. So we've been working with them, trying new techniques. How do you introduce the concepts in ways that people embrace them rather than be irritated by them? For instance, if I just say, you should do this, you should do that, you shouldn't do this, yes, stop, here's a list of things, do them all. People don't like that, right? They like to be introduced to things slowly. And in community. So we're trying to figure out the best techniques for that through our Blue Habits program. You guys can go online, in fact, at bluehabits.org and learn about that there. So that's one thing I'm very proud of. And the other is the work that we're doing with sea turtles. As I mentioned, their sea turtles are widespread. They're in every ocean in the world. They're sort of canaries in the coal mine of ocean health. And if we can do all the things we need to do to save sea turtles, we're also going to save the ocean. So for us, they're very important icon species. When we started doing this work 15 or 20 years ago, there were little projects all over the world that were having local successes or sometimes even regional successes. But these are globally ranging animals. So the only way to really be able to figure out what's going on is to look at them from a global scale. And the only way to do that is to develop a community of all the people everywhere that are working on these animals and ask them to share information. So that's when we created the database. You can learn more about that at a website called seaturtlestatus.org. And that's a program that we call SWAT, which is an acronym, not a very good acronym, for State of the World Sea Turtles Program. And we publish a magazine once a year to help turn the science into understandable, digestible information for the public. And we do annual calls for data. We produce maps. And these tools are used literally every day by sea turtle conservationists, whether they're from nonprofit organizations or governments or just academic institutions. Literally, those resources that we've been able to develop get clicked on and downloaded and used multiple times a day.
Neat.
So those are two good stories. If I were to tell a third, I'd move on to our ecotourism program. When we started taking people to the field back in the early 1970s, we were among the original pioneers in ecotourism. Actually, the word ecotourism didn't even exist back then, but now we're still doing it, and we're still impacting the lives of hundreds of people every year by demonstrating them the beauty and the threat that's occurring with the ocean on a daily basis.
So as a summary, we have some behavioral design, right, that we're engaging in. The sea turtles, I love that quote, the canary in the coal mine for ocean health. I think that's really, I didn't know that. That's really cool. And then the tourism.
Yeah.
Can I give?
What would you throw in, Rosie? Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I've been looking at the chat a little bit. Yeah, I would just add that like our Blue Habits program, it really permeates everything that we do. We include what we've learned with social scientists into our sea turtle work, into our ecotourism operations, and into our online communications. It's a part of everything that we do. Um, and we also have when Rod started talking about what he's most proud of, I've only been at OS for like about 3 years now, but I love it. Don't plan on ever leaving. And for me, I mean, I don't have those big projects like SWAT that I helped develop over the course of my career. But one thing that we've really started to begin to expand upon is increasing equitable access to nature. So a lot of people who have opportunities and the privilege to go on, international expeditions or travel abroad on a regular basis or go on whale watches. There's so many people that are unable to do that, and so how can we really begin to expand our reach and make opportunities more available for demographics that may not have otherwise had the opportunity? And so we, over the past couple of years, we began to create and revamp a program called Critter Scholars, which currently is in the Bay Area, and we create fully subsidized wildlife watching tours on the Bay for underserved students and their teachers, and expanding to youth groups to bring people who have maybe never even seen the ocean before, and to start doing some educational wildlife tours with them, and just to start building the awareness and inspiring the next generation of ocean activists. And that's something that we've started to grow, and I could see it growing a lot more, and it's something that I'm personally pretty passionate about, and I'm hoping to see it really expand in the coming years.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, that's a good, thank you for pointing that out, Rosie. That's something we just gotten started. We've only done, I think, 4 expeditions now with Bay Area kids, but they've been crazy successful. The kids love it. The teachers love it. Some of these kids that go out have never even been on a boat before. So you can imagine the excitement of going out on the San Francisco Bay and seeing sea lions and porpoises and an occasional whale.
One theme that I'm pulling out here that I really appreciate is the long-term mindedness of the society, right? The idea that we aren't here for short-term gains, but we're taking the long view. We're starting with youth. We're trying to inspire them. We're trying to change behavior permanently rather than temporarily, which these are the hardest problems to solve. But that's one thing that I find really inspiring here is even though those changes take a lot more time, you're prioritizing them because you're trying to solve the real problems underneath.
Yeah, thanks for summarizing that, but that's exactly right. And as you can imagine, it's very challenging, and a lot of times, particularly with the behavior change, trying to get humanity to permanently change the way they act about plastic and carbon and seafood choices and tourism and things like that. This is tough work, so we're experimenting. And it's very difficult to say, yes, we've succeeded at something like this, because as soon as you say that, you realize, oh, well, the world's changed and people are acting differently. I mean, if you look at recycling, for instance, of plastic in this country now, compared to what it was even 5 or 10 years ago, it's actually worse now than it used to be. And that's, COVID changed things. China's ability to buy up America's used recycling waste disappeared. The infrastructure didn't exist in the country to be able to handle it ourselves. So we just constantly got to be changing our tactics and coming up with new ways to look at some of these big systemic issues for the ocean.
Adapting, absolutely. Well, let me do this. I'm going to transition into some audience questions that we have here. Let me give some context. I want to give you an opportunity to address what I know for the NFT and crypto community are some important values, one of which is being transparency. The ability to see transparently, particularly how money is being used, what that's going towards, and therefore being able to better measure the effectiveness and make investment decisions. So one of the first questions that we have here is, again, we're looking to give away donate 100 grand towards a cause that we value. So the kind of direct question here is, what is that? So that enters your bank account. What happens then?
Well, we typically talk to our donors about what they want their money to be spent on. And then we collectively arrive at a budget, and then we stick to the budget the best we can. Oftentimes, donors will say, "You guys decide. I just want the organization to succeed." In which case, we invested in some of the more difficult things to raise money for, like staff salaries and overhead costs. And sometimes we have, like we had a corporate donation a few years ago, and they said, "We want to help you do outreach around your 50th anniversary." So with that, we supported the production of several educational videos. It's a Blue Habits series. I don't know if there's a chat, but Rosie can probably show you all 5 of the videos that we produced. And each one of them was focused on telling a story about Blue Habits and helping to frame for the viewers what Oceanic Society's mission and vision are. But specifically focused on tourism, plastic pollution, carbon footprint, seafood, etc. So yeah, it depends. We have all kinds of donors. I mean, obviously, if we have online donors that maybe give us $15. They don't get to have much say in how their $15 is spent. But when we have major donors, we typically sit down, discuss these things, and then agree on something and stick to it.
Oh, neat. So what I'm hearing here is there's a few choose your adventures. There's a, hey, we trust you guys to do with this as you see fit, and then there's also an option where potentially we work with Rosie, and we might even be able to collaborate together on how this could be used.
Yeah, and I think like with your voting and proposal system that you have in place, like there would be opportunities to maybe see what the community wants, whether it's to support a combination of our projects or specifically for our sea turtle work or our Critter Scholars program. There are lots of ways that we would be able to work together to come up with a solution that you would want with this donation. We've thought about ways that we could propose to you should we get it. We're in the process of developing a global cleanup challenge. Like there are campaigns that we're running that we could use this for, specific campaigns, and some of them have like a video component at the end that the sponsor is then included on. So it would say sponsored by Space Poggers, and or things like that. You know, we're open to what a priority is for your community, if that is exposure, you know, tweets or a video of some sort, or if it's just you know, a specific program or a combination of both. I also saw another question in the chat about like how much of it goes towards admin, and I think that is a great question. So just to answer that real quick, our overhead is 10%. So if somebody makes $100,000 donation to our sea turtle program specifically, 10,000 of that goes into overhead, which is you know, a combination of things that we need to keep running, like our emails and stuff like that.
And I should mention that that's very low.
It is very low.
I've worked for a number of different institutions over the years. The last large nonprofit that I worked for had a overhead rate of 26%, something like that. And that was considered low among some of the other partners. And if you look at universities, for instance, if you give a grant to a university for something specific, sometimes the overhead can be over 50%. So a 10% overhead is a very, we're small, we're lean, we don't waste any money.
Love that. Thank you for addressing that. I think that there's a lot of values there that align with many members of the community. So Rosie's already anticipating these, so good on you. I think the next question here that I'm seeing comes from our fire panda here. He just has a question. Any thoughts specifically on coral health in our oceans? He loves hearing about the different parts of the organization. So we've kind of addressed turtles, and he's just kind of wondering your take on coral health.
Oh, well, yeah, it's scary, really, the amount of coral bleaching that we're seeing on a global scale. And honestly, it's only going to get worse as temperatures increase, as sea levels increase, and as habitats disappear and get altered. So the only way we're going to focus on this, and I come back to how I started this conversation, is that it boils down to two things. The ocean's not healthy for two reasons. It's the stuff we put into it and the stuff we take out of it. So if we're not focused on human behavior, we can study every reef in the world, and if human behavior doesn't change, the coral reefs are just going to get sicker and sicker, and same with the turtles and the whales and everything else in there. So I am a biologist. I spent years, I'm a marine biologist, and I spent years working directly on marine science topics, but I've had to become a social scientist in the last decade and a half because I realized that it's humans that need to change, not ecosystems. And when we change the humans, then the ecosystems will start to get healthy again.
I think that's pretty relevant information there. I really respect the idea that you have the scientific groundwork and knowledge and understanding here, and then realizing that that's not enough because the rest of us who don't have that perspective need to be educated and kind of get an understanding of what you're seeing. So that social science is important.
Yeah, and this is the reason that we ended up working with Stanford and others, because the day that I woke up and said, "Hey, I got to start focusing on people. Who knows how to do this the best?" And so, so we reached out to folks that have a generation of experience in everything from advertising to health to anti-smoking campaigns. These are all behavior change issues. So we've been posing the question to them for the first time. Okay, great. How do we get people to change their behaviors in ways that will keep the ocean healthy? And they've been happy to work with us, and we're certainly happy to work with them. And we're starting to see some progress.
Love it. I'll just request from the community any lingering questions that they might have. In the meantime, what are kind of just some closing thoughts you'd like to impart in the community? So I'm your advocate. I'm on Team Oceanic Society. Me and Rosie are here to persuade that this is where the money's going. How can you equip me and Rosie to do that as we rally for y'all with the community?
Okay, well, let me think of why would you give money to us as opposed to anybody else? Number one, big bang for your buck. We're small, we're lean, we have a very low overhead. We've got ongoing programs that we can just double, triple, quadruple their impact with a little more financing. So I think getting big bang for your buck is a good Oceanic Society is a good gamble there. Secondly, we want your money, but we want your souls. So we really
Oh
want
my
you.
God.
So we're not going to forget you. In other words, yeah, we'll take the money, we'll do good things with it, and we will engage you with the work that we're doing for as long as you want to be engaged. And I think that's important because you want to own and be proud of the results. We're not just going to say, thank you very much, see you later. We're going to say, here's what we're doing. Here's how it impacts you. Here's how you can impact and be part of the change yourselves.
Rod, you're good at this. Thank you. I like those succinct answers. Let me look at the chat here real quick. Okay. I'm giving
I
everyone,
will, I'll jump in real quick just to talk a
one
little
sec,
bit.
Rosie. I'm giving everyone
Oh,
30
go ahead.
seconds
Go
to
ahead.
get their last questions in. All right, all you, Rosie.
Sure. So yeah, I was just gonna jump in to talk about like this space in general, the Web3 space. You know, I had been tasked with looking into it only like 2 months ago, and you know, we didn't know much about it. But as I've been kind of just diving in head first, I've learned a lot about some of the priorities and what the community is about. And what I've found and what I think is a parallel is the strength of the community is really, really important. And that's really important to our work as well. And so that's a parallel that that I love to see, and I'm curious to know how they're going to work together in some ways. But one thing that we found with our Blue Habits work is that the strength of community really makes a difference when it comes to people changing their behaviors. You know, believing that individuals can have an impact, and especially a collective group of people can have an impact on the planet. And in fact, it's really the only thing that, like, humans cause this problems, but humans are also going to be the ones to solve it. And that's our belief. And I just love how strong the community aspect is in this Web3 space. And also the transparency. Transparency, it seems to be really important in this space. I mean, I'm by no means an expert, but it's just what I've seen so far. And yeah, I don't know where it's going to go, but it's a really exciting new venture of philanthropy. You know, traditionally, if we were to be applying for a $100,000 grant, it would be months of work, lots of staff time, which takes away from our ability to do the work on the ground. And so this space really has the opportunity especially for small nonprofits, to make a huge, huge shift in terms of our ability to do more of this work. And so I just want to say thank you for even including the charity aspect as a part of your work, and being generous enough to give back this amount of money to whichever nonprofit you end up choosing. It's an exciting and new space for us. So thank you.
Rosie, just continuing to prove why we love you. Thank you. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for their time. What I'll do from here is I got some notes that I will tailor for the community so that they can kind of get, those who weren't able to make it can get some of the reasons why I think this is where our money should go. One thing I'd like to do, though, is give a shout out to Specialist Jay here. He's been putting in some overtime hours to coordinate this charity opportunity for us. And I will speak personally. I think it's easy to get lost in this space with, you know, kind of self-serving just initiatives. And just the time I've been able to work with Rosie and do this is it gives you the feels. And I'm really valuing the time that Rod and Rosie have lent to us today. So thank you, Specialist Jay, for coordinating all this.
Yeah, thank you, all of you.
Okay, let me just check the chat real quick. Okay, I think we're good to go. Rosie, Rod, thank you for your time.
Our pleasure.
Thank you so much.
right.
And
Take
feel
care.
free to reach out in the chats if you guys have any follow-up questions. I'll be lingering. So
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
but yeah, thank you so much.
I'll stay up in the chat and yell at people, starting with you, Bax.
Perfect.
Okay, cool. And this has been recorded. Thanks, Ajanar. All right, I will be exiting, but I will also be in the chat.
Thank you. Thank you for organizing this.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.